If our view of the world is a story that we're making up as far as how we choose the world, why wouldn't you choose a good story?
Hey design friends, and we are back on this wonderful Kohler Takeover Day. I'm Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design, and the topic for this discussion focuses on what everyone is talking about these days, and that's wellness. And it's the storyline of Kohler's perspective of the year. It's called Dimensions of Wellbeing, exploring this profound concept that affects every element of society and our environment, right? And I'm excited to introduce to you my guest today, my friend Seth Stevens. He's Chief Designer Luxury Space for Kohler. Hi, Seth.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Nadia. Very excited to be here today. Thank you.
Fantastic. And we have Nadia Borras. She's the Director of Interior Design for one of the leading architecture firms in Mexico called Sordo Madalena. We love this firm. We publish this firm. And we're so happy to have Nadia here. Hola, Nadia.
Hola. I'm very happy to be here also discussing these very important things in our lives.
We all know that well-being encompasses our physical and our mental and our spiritual health. We all know this, but through the pandemic, even more so, we know how wellness is affected by our physical space and how it looks and functions, how we interact with it. Seth, let's talk about it. How do you see the relationship between a physical space and individual well-being?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Cindy. And thanks again for being here today. Yes, you know, the pandemic has taught all of us so much. It's interesting because I was going to start by saying, as a designer, you know, the space feels like this to me and makes me feel this way. But actually now that, as you reminded us, we've all gone through the pandemic.
Yes.
I think now more than ever, actually, it's not just designers that are feeling and understanding how the space affects our well-being, but actually probably everyone or most people, you know, as it's become.
Absolutely. I think that is one big thing came out of the clients really understanding what you all do and how it affects them. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. You know, for me and for my husband, honestly, in our master bathroom, as I think about it, it really, in our wellness, I feel like wellness starts with how we feel and how we start our morning, and the bathroom is such an important place to do that. And when I think about my own bathroom, you know, I have this really cool antique medicine cabinet that houses items that have been passed down for generations. Like I have a dop kit from my dad, for example, that's in there. And for me,
I love that.
For me, it's, you know, it's kind of understanding and knowing and remembering those items and how they remind me of who I am and how I can be a better person, you know, every day, or how that affects my well-being, quite frankly. And my and I think also with dimensions of well-being specifically, and what that looks like for us at Kohler Company, we've recognized that shift from where it started before the pandemic, which was the physical, you know, how physical has affected our well-being, but not just physical, but mental and emotional affects our well-being. And I think that's really closely tied into it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you. It's linked into family heirlooms. That's really beautiful. I love that. So, okay, Nadia, your turn. You know, as a designer, you're always thinking about this in projects, right? So how does that respond to what ends up being the project for you?
I think that we have to understand the project as a system, as a living system, right? I think the project and the spaces that we live in are living also through us. We interact with the spaces all the time, and we become one with the spaces. So I think everything that is happening in that space happens to us internally and externally. So I think it's very important to think very, very in detail what is going to trigger some emotion, the natural lighting, the objects, as Seth was saying, that's very important, to have a specific object in some spaces. So I think it's very important to have that in mind, that we make a living part of a living system in a space as well.
Wait, I have to say this to everybody out there too, because people ask me, all the time, like, how do you decide, whether it's this project or this project to publish? And the answer is always if it makes you feel something. Seth, you already said that. If it has a soul, and when I think of your projects, Nadia, I always think that they have a soul.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very good to hear.
Is there a project that comes to mind immediately when we start talking about well-being and wellness?
Yes, one of my favorite projects in that case is the Cenote Spa in the Grand Hyatt Playa del Carmen, the hotel, because it evokes a lot of the natural environment in the area, all the underground cenotes, the caves that have water inside of them.
This one spa that's like underground with
yes,
where you look up and see the sky. It's like it transports. You talk about wellness, right? That's what you're talking about, right? Yeah, I mean, it's really stunning, and it's everything as you said. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like a gimmick at all. It feels and feels very healing, which I love. Design is all about people who inhabit this space. So how do you start a project, Nadia?
I start by understanding, first of all, chemical vibes between the clients or the people that I am going to design for. Maybe when you design hospitality, it's not that easy because many people of different kinds are going to leave that spaces. So I think it has to be really human-centered. It has to be really approaching the psychology of the people that is going to actually enjoy and use this space. For example, when we did this rehab centers for children with some disabilities, physical disabilities. Yes, we try to understand the disability, and we try to understand the family, how the family interacts with this child around his disability. We have to understand how the body heals through the senses of the colors, of the shapes, feeling that they are in a magical world, in a fantasy world where they can be anything they want. Through the years, you see they really heal there, and because the environment helps doing that. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, that was if I'm right, Nadia, that was a cancer center, and I would imagine that there's a different kind of responsibility. We talk about wellness, but this is like healthcare, and you're talking about life and death situations, and that kind of weight that you have as a designer to move somebody's spirit to be more positive.
Yes, but it transmits well-being. You see the faces, and you see how they feel really in a well-being instant when they are there. It's not just cancer; it's also physical disabilities. There are more like these centers also for that. So you have to be. They are many of the times in wheelchairs. So you have to design for them as well in terms of the space that it has to be really friendly for the wheelchairs, but also that they are looking up all the time. So you have to put the frame of what you are designing from some height up, so they can see everything up there. So the ceilings have these wonderful and different shapes and colors and lights, so they can always be looking at that all the time.
That's so beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm glad you guys are working on some projects like that. Seth, let's take it down to product, because people are interacting within the space, within the furnishings and the products. So what's your take on it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's for us at Kohler Company, we feel like we oftentimes end up being even closer, to the person using the space, because the actual products and how they perform are obviously, front and center with what's happening. I mean, even in regards to Nadia's project and designing for disabilities, Kohler has a slew of items that have been designed. And in that space, there's been so much progression in terms of what designing for disabilities looked like before
Yeah.
to what it looks like today. There's been a lot of focus on that. We also have, a massive aging in place, initiative that we're constantly working on within Kohler Company. But it's so important to design and understand, at the end consumer and what that looks like in the partnership with designers, because from our perspective, like Nadia in this case, knows her client who she's designing for. In many cases, from a product design and manufacturing perspective, we may not know who that end client is. So we rely on information gathering. We rely on, design information. We rely on data. But at the end of the day, it's how is that product performing? So yes, it needs to look beautiful, but how is it performing? And can the designer and can the spaces and at the end of the day, the end user rely on this product? That's really what matters the most, and matters the most to us, of what that gracious experience looks like, no matter who you're designing for.
Yeah, and I love the relationship, the close relationship with you all at Kohler and the designers. And, in turn, you guys can make anything. And you do, by the way, but also just that sort of intimacy. I know, Seth, that you're very close on the industrial side where things are being made, and these are craftsmen and their hands, and you're in the factory and you're seeing them making this product. That's an incredible experience.
It very much is, yes. And, and it also ties very closely to Kohler's long-standing, beautiful, amazing heritage, right? And innovation, in cast iron technology, and still lead the industry in that today.
Wait, you have to tell the story about the bathtub.
The first invention of the bathtub was actually, farm related, so farm animal related. And essentially it was the same, cast iron process that they'd used to create for a hog scalder, was actually then, the innovation of it was to actually apply it to human use into bathrooms, thus creating the first bathtub. So
I love that. I love that it's like so early on, it was about the needs and how to be creative, be industrious, and design something for the needs in the community. So, all the way back then, I love that. Let's add on sustainability, because we have been talking about here so much. It's first wellness and then it's sustainability. Like, we hear those two go hand in hand. And how do we make sure that we're designing for both? So, okay, let's start with you, Seth, because I heard that like early on, you were like a kid who was recycling.
Yes. This is true. So yes, way back again in Wisconsin, that actually just ended up being coincidental that I grew up in Wisconsin and that Kohler is based out of Wisconsin after spending 20 years in New York. But yes, I started, this was probably in the early 80s, and it was when they had created that can crusher that usually attached to the wall.
I love that.
And being in a household with 10 other people, aluminum cans can stack up quite quickly. So you can kind of see how consumption can, create quite a bit of waste quite quickly. And at that point, like, recycling was still a pretty new initiative. But yes, I was obsessed with like can crushing and stacking them all up. And at that time, there wasn't even recycling, like you didn't put it on the curb. So my dad would graciously drive me to the recycling center every weekend to drop off the cans. So yeah, I've been very passionate about recycling, sustainability, caring for the earth from a really young age. And that perfectly translated into Kohler Company and their passion for innovation for good, which includes the Waste Lab program. We have those gorgeous tiles that I know you guys have written about and love, the crackle tile. But it's really that amazing story of how Kohler continues to, in a lot of Kohler's past, as you've brought up, it all boils down to that heart message and that heartfelt responsibility. Kohler had supported so many immigrants that had come in from different places of the world. And, they started with their care for people, and that just has grown exponentially with their care for the earth and the care for responsibility and being responsible enough to understand what it looks like and to drive innovation around sustainability.
To me, it's one of those huge success stories, because we always say you can make a product that's like kind of like sustainable or good for the earth, but if a designer doesn't really love it, and that's a different story. This product is absolutely off the charts, right? It is gorgeous. The color is the depth of color, and having the story, it's just like a 360 degrees home run, right?
Thank you. Yeah, the color actually a few of the first original colors actually have literally no additives in it. And it is the color that's created as a result of the process of the actual waste coming through and creating that color. Like it's pretty, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so Nadia, you know, we say, look, sustainability has been a trend for a while, and now we see it taking shape in a much different way. But this was not a trend for you. Your studies was sustainability. I mean, you've been very passionate about it for such a long time.
Yes, I was always worried about nature, about sustainability, because as architects and designers, we cannot help to leave a footprint on the earth because of what we do and how we do it. I mean, it's necessary to leave a footprint. So we have to do it the less damaging way possible, because you know it's a necessary thing that we have to build houses for people to live in, spaces for people to interact in. So we have it's a necessity, right? It's a need. And in the way, we have to make it friendly for the earth and beautiful at the same time. So it's, you know, it's a huge responsibility, actually. I studied my master's degree in sustainability in order to try to know how to use the materials. When you understand how Kohler and how other brands make their products and in a sustainable way, thinking about the earth, you get this peace of mind with yourself and with your own designs, knowing that you have put a product that is going to be, it was built with sustainability, and that is going to not waste water, and that it's beautiful. So we have everything in one side.
Let's talk about this idea of luxury and also cleanability. You know, Seth, talk to us a little bit about that almost dichotomy between the two.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting because Kohler was working on so many of these things specific to sanitation, keeping things sanitized, easy clean, et cetera, pre-pandemic. So actually, when the pandemic happened, that was we saw that massive shift from, into technology toilets, for example. That's part of like that whole, the luxury experience and spaces and sanitation. It's Kohler always designs into or thinks about the bathroom in 3 different spaces. So it's the grooming / styling space, the toileting space, and then the bathing, / showering space. And, I think in this scenario, talking about luxury and sanitation, I know sometimes it feels like it's taboo to talk about the toileting space, but to be honest, that space became, obviously all their spaces were important as well, but that space became particularly important with toilet paper shortages, things like that through the pandemic. And we saw this massive shift, and we were just so happy to have already, come up with several products, but I think this idea of luxury and personalization and everything is really important when we're thinking about that space. And as a pandemic, it's interesting to think about it actually, technology toilets and its relationship to wellness. And if you think about like the Earth's wellness, right? Because these toilets actually use less water than some of your regular typical toilets. And it doesn't have the use of paper, toilet paper, et cetera. And it's super hygienic, with self-cleansing seats, et cetera. And so the designs of these pieces, at the end of all of this, they have the ability to provide all of these different customized solutions, but they're all encapsulated in this beautiful, simplified, shapes.
In the future, there's going to be more technology, but it's kind of like you're not going to know it even exists, right? And I know Kohler's always been interested in technology, but when I was talking to Laura Kohler, she said, sometimes you just want a tub to be a tub. And you also have that too. I love that.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, that's part of it as well, where it's, based on your level of comfortability with technology, like you can go with full on, technology toilet. Sometimes I call them a personal spaceship, just for laughs. But you can have just a toilet, or you can have a toilet with a self-cleansing seat. Like you've got options based on your level of comfortability with technology. I think that's a really important call out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The range is there. There's the breadth is there. So whatever you need, it's there. Nadia, how do you approach designing a space? Like including, I see a lot of projects in the exterior and the interior are almost seamless, but with this focus on well-being? Maybe like talk about a couple projects.
Yeah, and you know, I never see the edge between the interior and the exterior. You know, in architecture, for me, I'm an architect. I mean, I'm an architect who works as an interior designer, right? Yeah. So for me, architecture and interior design is just one thing. I always say it's like a fruit that maybe the apple is red from the outside and white from the inside, but it's the same fruit. It's just two different things in one shape, right? So I think it's very important to have that in mind in terms of well-being and wellness, because the contact and the right contact with the nature and with the natural elements, I think we have to design human-based, but also humans get our well-being from the elements, from the sun, from the air, from the fire, from all the elements, and we cannot forget that. I think the basic things, and I will address a little bit that I think are the real luxury, actually, like having these simplest things really in mind, and think of our body as a healthy body. The health is a luxury. Having health is a real luxury. So we want to build a healthy space. So that's where we begin. We begin with spaces that are also that give you with material means, they give you non-material or sensible experiences. So the goal is to build an experience that you will remember, that it will make you feel something as time passes by, and having the less materials possible that will not age, that will be timeless, that when you return to that space many years ago, they will still be there, maybe with generating another kind of experience. Maybe you can change, you know, if there's a piece of furniture or maybe a piece of decoration, you know, but the space itself has to be the most time possible, right? So we think designing in a timeless and in an ageless kind of way, in a healthy way, and very, very concerned with nature.
I love that we published the Solaz Los Cabos project. It's glorious. And that is definitely, am I indoors or am I outdoors, right?
Yes, and we tried, and we worked very closely with the landscape designers, because all the landscaping there is endemic from the region. So when it has to be dry, it has to be dry when it's right season. When it rains, it gets all green.
You're also, I have to say, Nadia, you're also working on, you know, projects in the city that are mixed use, and you're making sure to incorporate green park and greenery, like the arts Pedregal. How do you pronounce that?
Pedregal, yes.
Pedregal, yeah.
Pedregal. Yeah. Our firm has this tradition since the great-grandfather started, Juan Sordo Madaleno, with the firm. He brought the first shopping malls to Mexico, open shopping malls, actually. And then we continued with that tradition to make these shopping malls. But we tried the latest ones to make them more just than a shopping mall, make them also an experience. So we try to integrate the art part of it, and also the exterior part of it, making a park, a place where people can go and have an experience there, just like an outdoor space, like going to a park and maybe have an ice cream or drink a coffee, and maybe if you see something that you like, you can buy it from a shop.
I do want to bring up this close relationship between a manufacturer, somebody like Kohler, and a designer, Nadia. You know, I love that they wanted you to be on this program. It can be so symbiotic, and you're creating product, you're designing spaces, and, you know, Seth, what's that relationship like? You know, when it's a good one, it's really good. I know that, Nadia, you worked on the Secrets Resort and it features Kohler. Like, what's it like, Seth, when you know, a designer is working that closely with you on a big project?
Yes, this relationship between Kohler and the designer is so important to us. You know, one of the things that Kohler has is the ability to span this depth and breadth of product assortment, which I think allows designers to really end up customizing that experience into their environments. You know, a really great example of this is actually components. You know, our components collection allows designers and anyone, the end consumer, to be able to mix and match several spouts with handle options. And then, you know, I mentioned technology toilets earlier, but, you know, their depth and breadth, everything from modern to traditional toilets, whether you're looking at, you know, the Veil toilet or a Memoirs in a traditional, you know, more essential toilet. There's just, I think that relationship, it's important to offer that depth and breadth of assortment to be able to provide the right items for the designers to be able to execute their vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's it like for you, Nadia? You worked on that big project. Tell us a little bit about that.
Actually, I love that when you can mix things with them, because we designers always want the thing that it's in between two products, right?
I know.
So I love this because we are going to be able to, you know, to mix everything that we want. Then you can get crazy and you can get lost, and it's a very helpful working very, very closely with you, because you know your product, and you will tell me exactly what product do I need, what is the best that it suits me. Maybe I will tell you, no, I don't like that, like another one.
I was going to say, she wants the suggestion box, but if you do what's in the suggestion, she'll want another thing. That's the way that designers.
That's exactly it. But it's, you know, good thing that we offer like essentially limitless finish options. But also that, you know, that relationship, the thing that you brought up, I think is really important, Nadia, is that the relationship is symbiotic, right? Like we all learn and grow from each other, you know, with the same goal at the end of the day of providing this really beautiful, you know, gracious experience, no matter who, you know, we're combined designing for. But I feel like, you know, we always learn, at least for myself as a product designer, I've learned throughout my entire career, you know, from multiple different design aspects, architects, designers, even fashion and jewelry, etc. But it's just, I think it's so amazing that we have this idea and experience to be inspired by each other and learn and grow, you know, together through these projects. So.
Well, on that note, first of all, that was a great end note. Seth and Nadia, you're inspiring to me. I'm sure you're inspiring to everybody out there listening. Thank you for talking about wellness and sustainability, and for both Kohler and for Nadia, for Sordo Madaleno, for leading the way, because we need you to do that and continue to move design ahead and into the future. So I'm feeling very well. I'm feeling really good about this conversation. You guys lift my spirit, and I'm sure everyone out there. So I want to thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you to Kohler. I hope everyone's having an amazing day on the Kohler Takeover Day. Okay, bye.
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 Welcome to Metropolis Sustainable Product Spotlight. I'm Senior Editor Kelly Beeman. Today's focus is on Carnegie Fabrics, an innovator in the development of textiles, wall coverings, and finished products, and notably a visionary manufacturer, given its line of PVC-free interior textiles, and the game-changing launch of bio-based Zerel, which debuted in 2013, making it the world's first ever high-performance textile that is also plant-based. The product has a measurably net positive impact, which has earned it Living Product Challenge and Cradle to Cradle Gold certifications. Additionally, Carnegie's special B Corp certification distinguishes it as a business legally required to consider the impact of their decisions on their workers, customers, suppliers, community, and the environment. And that's according to the third-party certifying organization. With me to share more highlights of Carnegie's sustainability practices are Heather Bush, the company's Chief Creative Officer, who has been a leader within the company for 25 years and a driving force behind Carnegie's groundbreaking Zerel textile design and production. And Charles Griffin, Carnegie's Director of Product Integrity and Quality, a post which uses his 30 years of experience as a textile engineer. Everyone in our industry knows how urgent climate change is. I think that it is new that we are highlighting what's happening with the manufacturing of interior products. I think initially we're focused quite a bit on things for the outsides of buildings and exterior materials. But with this new urgency attached to climate change and to interior products, what is driving Carnegie forward right now in its manufacturing processes?
Well, I always like to say that Carnegie is a 70-year-old startup, right? Like we've been around a long time, but we're really driven by innovation and to be a force for good. It's the core philosophy that Bob Goldman put in place when he founded the company is really about do good, never settle, and always be better. So, that kind of raise the bar philosophy is really our focus. And we definitely are believers in that good and great design can occur without having a negative impact on the planet and people. It's the planet and the health, interior health and health of all of us. So that's really what's driving us forward to create incredibly high performance solutions that solve problems for our clients. And but that's what we're keyed in on. That's what we work toward every day. And I think it's really, we have such an unusual, I believe, approach that we're so collaborative. Internally, externally, we listen to our clients. We're listening to the marketplace. Obviously, we believe in partnership, and that's what's driving our product development forward. So I think that's also apparent in the level of quality of products that we bring out and how we're working with the A&D community.
And you definitely care a lot about transparency in doing that. I mean, certainly, those things are happening, but it seems increasingly important to let designers know, to let the specifiers know what the ingredients are, what the processes are, how you're making these changes. And speaking to Charles's position, the quality, the integrity of this process. How is that different in this climate?
Oh, I love this. Well, first of all, as a company, I always tell people that transparency is built into the very DNA of our organization. Even before sustainability became all the rave in our industry, we've always been willing to share our ingredients. We've shared our material safety data sheets long before HBDs were created. And then when it came with the HBD documentation, the standardized version to allow people to really document the sustainable attributes of a given product, when that came along, we were already positioned. So we stepped right in. We were, if not still, the only company that provides HBD for every product that we carry. You can find it on our website. You can also find it in an HBD collaborative repository where anyone can go in and retrieve any HBD or any of our products, and they can see what's in Zerel, what's in any of our products to allow them to make intelligent design decisions around sustainability. But we also back it up with third-party audits and verification and testing. So we're well positioned to be able to honestly disclose what's in our product, which is a major piece right now.
Before the launch of bio-based Zerel, the PVC-free materials were already offered. Is that right? I mean, if we're looking at the timeline of things, what led to that step? Because, I mean, as Charles mentioned, these weren't things that were top of mind, mostly because they haven't been required, in terms of in the industry. I mean, so how did it become such a serious part of the company, the corporate philosophy?
It's such an interesting story. Again, Bob Goldman was, he was in the marketplace and he realized that there needed to be a cleanable, durable wall covering product because that's where he was supplying product. And he quickly realized that these linen products or, woven textile products needed to be, for commercial interiors, maintainable. And so he started in the late 70s, early 80s to search for, to create a product that would do this. And in his development process, he quickly realized the pitfalls around PVC and vinyl. And that's really what he was up against. That was a product that was readily available, and he wanted to create something woven. He wanted a woven look because that's what he was selling, woven textiles. So in his development and his research, he started to really understand the environmental problems with PVC vinyl, chlorine-based chemistry, and its manufacture, use, and disposal. And that is when he decided Carnegie would become a PVC-free company. And we have always been since that. So it was an outcome of that product development for Zerel, the product that Carnegie manufactures. And we are the first and only forever PVC-free company within the textile wall covering manufacturing arena. So we're pretty proud of that.
How much of it can you attribute to the communication between manufacturers and specifiers, or what the market is looking for?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier. Many people are becoming more conscious of the damage that we've done to the environment, and us being at the forefront of this industry in terms of really looking at sustainable solutions. And when the integrity part of my title is really all about maintaining not only the product integrity, but our developmental integrity. And Heather mentioned Robert Goldman a couple times. He was the driving force. He was the innovator, and everyone's following suit.
That's great. Could you tell me, just to put a number on it, how many, well, one, I'd like to know if there are more additional lines of bio-based materials in the works. And two, if you could tell me the total number, perhaps that you are aiming for or that already exist and are available.
Yeah, so Zerel, the original version was fossil fuel based, and then we had cradle to cradle silver certification of that product. And that really gave us the path to get to gold, because that was our goal, working with MBDC. And so that to get there, we had to switch to plant-based content. So we have renewable resource, sugarcane, Zerel bio-based is from sugarcane. So currently right now, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but when we did it in 2013, we transferred the most popular and the bulk of the product line, the most popular products, and we transferred all of those. And moving forward, that's what we developed. So I don't have all the exact numbers. The Zerel product line is quite large, but it's our yarn stock that we've transferred over.
We were actually the first wall covering to get cradle to cradle silver, and that was our first attempt. And
it was in 2007.
Me, as an engineer, I'm always concerned not only about the chemistry and the biology of the product, but can it perform in the end? So when we really got on the bio track, so our responsibility, one, is to vet the chemistry to make sure that we're on track to gold. And now we are gold and material health platinum for the bio. That's very important. So, and being able to do all that fine developmental work and the eco certifications, while at the same time maintaining all of the solid quality and performance attributes, was quite a challenge, and we were able to do that.
Zerel is such a versatile product, so we do a lot of different things. It's like we are the manufacturer, we own all of the yarn. So in the product development arena, we really have to just take that yarn and keep morphing it, right? So we do a woven product. We have a woven version, which everybody I think it's pretty well known for its as a wall covering, and we have a way that we back it so you can put it on the wall and really get high performance, aggressively clean it. So it is a great solution. So it's a vertical application, and of course it's used for things such as headboards. It's used for panel fabrics. We have an acoustical, really creative panel product, which is behind me, that's wrapped in Zerel. So you can really, again, have a textile covering that can be well maintained. The latest innovation, we take Zerel and put it through all kinds of textile processes. The latest innovation is knitting. We found for upholstery, again, a great upholstery fabric, but due to the nature of the yarn, when you weave it, it doesn't have a lot of give. And so if you were going to upholster it, again, a tight headboard, a tight seating. And so how we addressed the product for upholstery to get like on curved shapes and soft shapes, we put it through the knitting process. So that was one of the newest innovations to allow that, the growth in that area as a wonderful upholstery fabric, high performance.
It's great to know that it's available on for so many different applications.
Yeah, and we introduced a furniture piece also. It's called Boost Ottoman, that features the Zerel knit, and it's designed by Rainlight. We worked with them, and it's a very round piece. And again, to be able to have something that's really incredibly durable and cleanable, bleach cleanable, can be disinfected with harsh detergent. So it's a real performance product. Again, we listen to the marketplace very closely, and one of the things that we have always been asked over the years, that Zerel's been in the market for 40 years, is Zerel has a luster, a slight luster to it. And everybody said, oh, I love Zerel. I just would love to see a version where it isn't quite as lustrous. And so we were able to create a bio-based matte version. So that's also a recent introduction.
Fantastic. And just before we finish up, I'd just like to hear, perhaps Charles, you could speak to some of the waste reduction, energy saving aspects of producing the yarn.
Number one, we were able to use this powerhouse energy source called sugarcane. And you're looking at being able to use roughly almost 9.5 times the amount of renewable energy per unit that we can use also with the raw material of sugarcane. So we get an enormous benefit from being able to use sugarcane, almost 10 to 1 in terms of renewable energy. And what that allows us to do is to create this yarn using almost 95% biogenerated energy, which is incredible. And what does that say in the end? Number one, and this is sugarcane waste, by the way. So what it says to us in the end, that we can create this yarn in such a way that is low energy consumption, is zero water. And that's interesting, with all of the colors, we're able to create those things with zero water. And being able to have such a positive carbon imprint, because we are able to sequester 2.5 tons of carbon. That's carbon that's not going into the atmosphere than if we were using regular fossil-based products. So the environmental story is incredible in terms of water reduction, because there's no water, low energy consumption, and certainly the carbon footprint. It's just, there's nothing out there like it when it comes to those numbers.
Yeah, and it's the percentage is so high. It's 60 to 85% bio-based.
Correct.
Where to get bio preferred, it's 25%. So we're way exceeding the percentage in our content.
So
which is really exciting to us.
I don't want to miss the fact that we were recognized by BioCorp as a good for the environment company. 72 industries and over 25 different countries, and we were recognized. I think we were the only fabric company, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, we were the only fabric company out of that bunch that was recognized at that level.
Thank you so much for sharing the details of this really great product and of what, the steps that the company continues to take. Thank you for joining us for Metropolis Sustainable Product Spotlight to learn about Carnegie Fabrics and its Zorel bio-based textile, which is derived from sugarcane and powered by agricultural waste and uses 0 water in production. What a positive environmental impact. I hope we can look forward to more like it.
Monogram takes pride in the quality and artistry of its materials, with an uncompromising attention to every detail. From its solid brass accents on the knobs to dramatic photography on the oven displays, Monogram believes it's the sum of the details that define luxury. The precision of craftsmanship is not only reflected in the look and feel of our appliances, but in their cooking performance as well. The Monogram 5-in-1 wall oven with Advantium technology is one appliance you definitely want to include in your kitchen. From toasting to speed cooking without preheating, Advantium technology is easy to use for all kinds of food. The Monogram hearth oven is luxury in every aspect of the design. Not only is it beautiful, but it gets up to 1300 degrees and can perfectly prepare Neapolitan-style pizzas in a matter of minutes. Monogram induction cooking puts you in control with consistent, professional cooking results. It looks sleek and fits seamlessly into kitchen designs with smooth, finished edges. Monogram refrigerators work with custom panels, from glass front to paneled fronts that match kitchen cabinetry. It's full of attention to detail, so you can see what's fresh.